According to a new survey by the nonprofit Employee Benefit Research Institute, people are basically fucked when it comes to retirement and when it comes to financial savings. Quote, 36% of American workers have less than $1,000 in savings and investments that could be used for retirement. Also, only 18% are confident that they can retire comfortably. And I have to say, I'm even skeptical of that. I'm skeptical of that number because I'm sure there are a lot of people who might be, blowhards or braggarts who are just like, yeah, 18, I can totally retire comfortably. Meanwhile, they got no money in the bank whatsoever. So it might even be less than that. And basically what we learned here is that this is right in line with the recent Bankrate.com study from 2013 that we discussed on the show. And they found that 76% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck. So when we talk about how there's a war on the middle class, when we talk about the 1% versus the 99%, we're not just talking out of our ass. See, I realize that a lot of the conservatives and a lot of the Republicans and people on Fox News, I think they genuinely don't know this. I think they actually think that people are just complaining and that people who are poor are just lazy, even though we could show you that that's not true, because how many people do you know, how many people do I know that are poor that work 2 jobs or work 3 jobs and work harder than somebody who makes $100,000 a year? But I think that if you were to tell this to Bill O'Reilly, you were to sit him down and say, look, man, I just want to give you the findings of 2 different studies here, and then you show him there's 36% of the American people have less than $1,000 in savings. 76% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck, meaning they're just barely scraping by and they putting a tiny amount in savings as time goes by. Well, I think his response would be like, whoa, what? Really? I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know that was going on. What we have right now, here's one fact that always blew my mind, and I always repeat it on the show, and I really want you guys to take this with you. I really want you guys to laser this in your mind, and then you can bring this up to other people if they have questions about it or if they need some education on the economy. Listen to this one fact. It's crazy. It's crazy. So in the 1920s, leading up to the stock market crash of 1929, and then, of course, we had the Great Depression. In the 1920s and in 1929, what percentage of the income was the top 1% making? 23%. It's like 23, 24%, thereabouts. Okay, and then everybody else was fighting for the crumbs, was fighting for the rest of it. Okay, 1% making 24% of the wealth. Now, after the Great Depression happened, and you had FDR come in and do the New Deal, and really help out the American people, and yes, redistribute wealth to make it more sane, to make it so we had a strong middle class, and we helped out poor people and whatnot, and we built the highways and did all this great stuff, right? We had, during what was called the Golden Age of Economic Expansion in the U.S., so roughly the late 1940s until the mid-1970s, we had the top 1% making between 8% and 12% of the nation's wealth. Okay, so understand that. Boom, right there. Understand that. So when times are good, the top 1% is going to make between 8% and 12% of the income, okay? When times are bad, they make 24%, 23%, okay? What was it right before the Great Recession? 23%. They went right back to making 23%. Why? Because we deregulated again. We took away all the protections for the economy that FDR put into place. You know, between Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush, we decimated all the efficient regulations we had in place, and Wall Street was acting a fool. Okay, we didn't learn the lessons of history. Well, what is that number today? What percentage of the wealth today is the top 1% taking in? 24%. The same number right before the Great Depression. You can't keep that up, man. The only way that a capitalist economy can function is if the middle class and the poor have what's called purchasing power. In other words, all those goods that the so-called captains of industry are pumping out, well, the economy comes to a halt, grinds to a halt when you don't have a middle class and a poor to buy the stuff. So they don't even realize it, but the rich are screwing not only others, not only the middle class and the poor. They're going to screw themselves in the end. Their greed is going to derail the entire economy.